Hi, we're Maddie and Nico, and we are turning this empty cargo van into this tiny home on wheels. We have no building experience, but we'll take you along each step as we transform our 2020 Ford Transit van. In this video, we're installing our Maxx Air Fan.
We are installing our Maxx Air Fan today. I'm up on the roof for the first time. I've already got my Maxx Air Fan plates right in the center. I've marked it the Sharpie with these two holes. Now I just need to trace this hole and then get a jigsaw and then cut it out. Okay, I've got my line traced. I did trace the inside of the flange, so I will have to go just slightly outside of this line.
So I'm getting tape ready to tape up a piece of plastic so all the filings, when you cut, you'll come falling inside.
What are you doing?
The next step, now that I have my line drawn, is to drill some pilot holes that I can fit a jigsaw blade through. Here, probably do the four corners, just like how we did the windows. Now that we got the hole cut, I'm gonna drill pilot holes through all of the holes in this flange. Your next step is painting all the holes that you just cut. I already painted, I just didn't record it. Hello, welcome back. Instead of buying a adapter plate, which a lot of people recommend, I didn't think it would work because our roof is dented. That's why the car's name is Wavy Davy. We have this vinyl, it's used for decking, and we just cut super thin piece to go in these grooves. Hopefully it'll make it a little bit more level for us. So we just made our roof vent adapter. Since our hole is kind of wonky and bent, since it's dented, we're gonna try this butyl tape and try to make it conform to the wave of the van. Okay, so I just put some butyl tape on the bottom of this, our custom made roof adapter, and then I used a clamp to push it down so it kind of conforms to our dents, and I think it's looking pretty good. Another thing I'm doing is, you might notice there's like a little bit of gap here on this underside, so I just kind of roll up some butyl tape and then I'm just kind of sticking it down in there, trying to make sure there's no gaps. I've got butyl tape along my roof adapter. I'm gonna stick it down. Then I'm gonna take my clamp and just clamp it down.
Next, we built up more butyl tape on all four sides to create an even surface for the fan flange. So we have built a wood frame to go underneath our Maxx Air Fan so the screws have something to screw into, and we are just clamping that to the roof, and then we are going to screw in the frame of our fan through the roof into this piece of wood.
So now we got our wood frame. It's clamped on with these clamps right now. I'm just gonna drill some pilot holes in this part here, going down into the wood, and then we'll screw it in. Okay, everything's screwed in. Now I'm just gonna take a little alcohol on this towel and wipe everything down good. So the next step is gonna be lap sealant. So the last step is putting this lap sealant on, self-leveling lap sealant, and I'm just gonna circle around until it oozes over, and it should seal everything up.
When smoothing out the lap sealant, dip your finger in water first to prevent the goo from sticking to your fingers. We have finished doing the lap sealant, and now we might do some lap sealant on the inside because we like to be overkill. We did lap sealant on one edge underneath, but it was more messy than it was worth, so we stopped there.
So just got this on. There's a couple metal tabs on the base plate of this, and It seems like the metal tabs need to be pulled up a little bit because they're not lining up with the 4 holes that I have to screw in here. So we're gonna get some pliers and do that.
Have a fan.
There you go.
Let's wire up, test her out. Okay. Let me try and light.
Look at that. If you're wondering how to test the fan off one of these lights, you just unplug it. The blue and white wire is the positive, black wire is negative, and you just run your power to the fan. Alright guys, it's time to do the leak test on our Maxx Air Fan. Got this bottle of water, and we're gonna pour it on top.
Looks pretty good.
Today I am fixing our Maxx Air Fan. It works perfectly fine, but it has started to squeak. If you're curious to what it sounds like, here's what it sounds like. Alright, step 1 is taking off the fan cover, and how to do that. There's 4 of these tabs and they all spin, so you just have to spin them 180 degrees, like that. Next step is taking a 2.5mm hex wrench and taking off the hex bolt here. This will allow the fan to drop out. Once you loosen the bolt, the fan slides out. Next step is taking some wire cutters and clipping the wire ties right up here. And then the next step is there's 2 8mm bolts that we need to get rid of. Now that you have the bolts out, the fan can pretty much just come out, and you have one of 2 options. You can either pull it out like this and then start working on the motor with it still attached, but what I'm going to do, since we live in this full time and we're probably going to have to clean this pretty often, I'm actually going to clip these wires, the power wires, and just put some lever nuts on them just so we can easily dismount the motor whenever it needs cleaning. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I already cut the power to the fan, so I'm safe to clip these wires. And here is the fan motor. So I think we just have to take these 2 screws off and then get inside. So this is just a normal Phillips head. As you can see, just by taking one of these out, a lot of brush dust, and I believe that's what causes the squeaking. So this is what the inside of the motor looks like. This is the top part at least. These right here are what cause the dust. This is a brush motor. I guess brushless motors wouldn't have that, and they wouldn't be rubbing against. They're basically rubbing around this magnet over here. So it's rubbing on that. I'm not quite sure what these are made out of, but they kind of deteriorate and cause dust. That's what all the pieces look like. This is the magnet that spins around. Just look how much dust there is here. As you can see, it's pretty dusty in here. I actually moved to the garage because it was just getting a little too dirty in the van. clean up these screws as well. Once everything's clean, what you can do is you can push the brushes back, and then there's this little tab on the end that you flip this wire over, so now it stays in place. When you're putting your motor back on to this bearing, you can clip these two wires around the tabs that are on the outsides of them just to hold them in place. Slide that guy on. That should spin and be quiet. And once that's in, you can now unhook these wires, which engages the brushes onto the motor. You want to take your barrel, backing plate should just pop right back on. So now lastly, because I cut my wires, I just have to strip these down here and then in the van and then stick a wire lug on the ends of those. Yeah, I don't have wire strippers, so I'm just using an X-Acto knife, lightly cutting this shield back. I'm gonna take my motor now and put it over here. Then I'm gonna take my bolts and just cinch it back up. For this, I'm just gonna wire lug my wires back in. Now that I have my wires tucked away here, I'm just gonna put on the fan. So I just got the fan back on and I turned the power back on, so moment of truth. It turns back on, but it sounds like it's still squeaking. So I got everything back together. As you saw when I first put this back in, it still squeaked. So I went on Reddit and I found an article that said some guy did the same things as me, cleaned out all the dust, thought it would work, didn't work, took it back apart and then sanded down the actual brushes. So I did that, I took it apart, sanded down those brushes, the little lead pieces that are sprung into the motor, and now it's silent. So we'll see how long this lasts, we'll keep you posted. But right now I'm gonna call it good.
Hello from the future. This is the section of our video called Lessons Learned, where we go over all the things that we learned during our build, as well as what's been working and what hasn't been working for us since living in the van for a few months on the road. So without further ado, Nico's gonna start us off.
As you just saw, I fixed the fan squeak, and that was about a month ago. We're back at home now, and it's squeaking again. I've replaced the bearings, I've done everything that I think I could have. So, if you know how to fix the squeak in a Maxx Air Fan, let us know down in the comments. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been driving us insane.
The way we have it set up right now is that we just would have to clean it. It seems like every couple of weeks though, because every time Nico does get in there and clean it, it sounds brand new and fine for a little bit, and then it will just start squeaking again. This might be something that we just have to live with, or it might be fixable. So if you have any other ideas besides what we showed in this video, as Nico said, you can let us know.
Lessons learned number 1. We have a roof rack on top, and we had that roof rack before we cut this hole. If you are going to have a roof rack, I'd highly recommend putting it on before cutting this Maxx Air Fan hole. The reason to do this is you can dent the van pretty easily if you're stepping on top of the roof. There's certain points where you can step on where the ribs are going across the roof, but to not worry about that, just put on a roof rack if you're gonna have one.
The second point we'd like to make about this install is that, as you saw, our roof is very dented. This method should work on your Maxx Fan install. If you have a dented roof or a smooth one, you just need more or less Butyl Tape to build up to fill up those gaps. We didn't need to get any kind of special flange or anything like that.
You can save a little money by doing what we did. We happen to have vinyl plank around and made our own roof adapter, but you can also just buy that. So when you're cutting your holes, it's going to create a bunch of metal shavings, which then can cause rust or little rust stains on your paint. One thing you can do to prevent this is to purchase a magnet. Basically, it looks like a barrel and it has magnets on the
We'll link
inner
it
rim.
below.
Yeah, we'll link it below. But basically, when you drill, it picks up all the metal shavings, so it's super easy to clean up.
On that same point, one thing you can do to collect metal shavings that's better than a tarp like we had is you could put a cardboard box and you just tape that onto your roof. And so that way all the shavings are contained inside that box. I think that combined with the magnet for the drill would do the trick. And that's all of our lessons learned.
One thing I should note is we have had this fan installed for about 1.5 to 2 years now, and we've never had a leak from there. The lap sealant has lasted.
We're pretty happy with it despite it sometimes squeaking. If it didn't squeak, it'd be perfect, but that's just something I think everyone has to deal with when doing a Maxx Air Fan.
Another thing to mention is when you're driving with the Maxx Air Fan that's open or even closed, you can still hear a little bit of road noise, and what has really helped with that is this. It's just a magnetic cover. It's for insulation. It blocks out light and it blocks out sound. We'll link this down below too.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a comment below if you found this video to be helpful or not. We'd love to hear your feedback.
We'd also love to hear your feedback on how to fix a squeaky Maxx Air Fan.
What's going on?
Please.